Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about my 2020 reading goals and books I'm anticipating to release this year. I know it's a little bit late, but I wanted to have something that I could look back on at the end of the year and kind of see if I really did accomplish these things and how far I've grown. So we're going to get started with my reading goals and then we'll go into the books I'm anticipating. I have them all written down on my bullet journal, so if I'm looking down, that is why. But the first goal was my Goodreads reading challenge goal for the year, and that was 100 books. It is May 3rd, the day I am filming this, and I am at 32 books as of right now. So I think we're doing pretty good. Hopefully I can make it, but it was a very ambitious goal. The second is to read more LGBTQA plus books this year. I've read a few graphic novels and comics, but I haven't read any physical books yet. I'm still counting graphic novels and comics, but I definitely want to get to some physical books this year. So if you guys have any recommendations for any of these, please leave them down below. I'd love to check them out. But my goal for this year was to read 5. So far I believe I've read 2 graphic novels / comics. So if I keep on with that, at least 3 physical books I'd like this year. My third reading goal was to read more own voices this year, which I have not read any, I don't believe. I said I wanted to read at least 3. I feel like that requires a little bit more research to go into because some books outright disclose if it's own voices. Others you have to do a little bit of research on. Okay, sorry if the angle changed a little bit, but the next one was to at some point address how I rate my books, and I did include that in my first book talk, so I'll have that link down below if you guys want to check it out. But it is just a pretty simplified way on how I can consolidate all my thoughts and opinions and feelings on a book to rate it then into Goodreads. The next goal is to do a year in review, which this is definitely part of that because in the year in review I want to go back and see if I accomplished these, but I feel like it would be a lot of fun to kind of do a yearly awards, so I could give an award to the longest book, the book I enjoyed the most, the book it took me the longest to read. I feel like that would be a kind of cool way to wrap up the year. My 6th reading goal for the year was to read more manga, graphic novels, and comics, and I have slowly started that. My goal is to read 10 this year, and I believe I'm at 4 or 5 right now, so I definitely think I'll be able to get that done by the end of the year. And my final goal was to read some more middle grade. I feel like there are a lot of authors who have written works that are classified as middle grade, and I made that one kind of simple and just said that I would want to read 3 middle grade classified works this year. So those were all of my reading goals for the year. So now we're going to get into the books I am most anticipating to release this year, and I have them all saved on my little TBR I have on my phone, so I can just read them off to you guys as we go. And I have a few of the other books that are in the series, so I can throw those up because some of these books I'm going to talk about do not have artwork or names released for them yet, so you'll see what I mean as I get to them. I also just wanted to address that I'm not too sure on the specific release dates of these books. Due to the state of the world right now, a lot of publication dates have been pushed off, but these were the books that at the beginning of the year were initially set to be released this year. So the first book is A Sky Beyond the Storm by Saba Tahir, and that is the 4th and final book in the An Ember in the Ashes and Torch Against the Night series. So far we have An Ember in the Ashes, A Torch Against the Night, A Reaper at the Gates, and finally we will have A Sky Beyond the Storm. I believe if I'm correct, the book is going through the editing process right now, and I'm so excited to see where this story goes. I will be getting to this book hopefully during the month of May, but I've heard a lot of great things about the 2nd and 3rd books in the series, and I am assuming the same for the 4th and final book. The next book is The Boundless by Anna Bright, and that is the 2nd book and companion to The Beholder by Anna Bright. This book released last year in May, I believe. I don't think the date has been officially announced, but it was initially set to be released in June. The next book is Lobisona by Romina Garber, and in this story we are dealing with a lot of really cool aspects as well as some important topics. We have a really cool aspect of werewolves that was mentioned in the summary of books, but also we are dealing with the story of Manuela, and she is an undocumented immigrant and she is dealing with trouble caused by her Argentinian crime family and is just really trying to live peacefully, and I'm assuming somewhere along the way the werewolves will intercross with her story, or she is related to the werewolves It all seems so interesting, and I knew the minute that, first of all, I saw the artwork for the cover of this book, but also read the summary, that I was absolutely so excited to read this, and I believe the publication date has been pushed back for this until August. That was one of the ones that I believe was announced. The next book is Vicious Spirits by Cat Cho. This is the second and sequel to Wicked Fox by Cat Cho. I have not yet picked up this book. It is on my Amazon cart, so hopefully that will happen soon. But in this story, we are following a nine-tailed fox who has to survive on the energy of men. So it definitely sounds interesting, and eventually I will get to it before it releases. The next book is All This Time by Mickey Daught and Rachel Lippincott, and these are the same authors who wrote 5 Feet Apart, which was recently adapted into a movie, I believe, within the past year. And in this story, we are following 2 people who have recently suffered a loss and are coming together to try and heal and grow. So in this story, we are following Kyle and Kimberly, who were the perfect couple until graduation night when Kimberly breaks up with Kyle, and they are both involved in a car accident that leaves Kyle with a brain injury and Kimberly dead. And while Kyle is trying to figure everything out and mourn but also heal at the same time, he meets Marley, who is also dealing with some similar struggles. She feels as though she was at fault for somebody passing in an accident, and it's essentially a story of growth and healing and trying to get through the grieving process. I really loved the cover artwork for this as well because it is very reminiscent to me of the 5 Feet Apart cover. If you guys saw that, I'll put both of them up to kind of compare, but one was a blue flowery lung and the other one is like purple flowery and an hourglass. So I really like this style of artwork. The next book is Girls of Fate and Fury by Natasha, Nyan, and this is the 3rd book to the Girls of Paper and Fire series or trilogy. And I am reading this book in the month of May for Asian Readathon, and I am so excited. Essentially, we are following a story where girls are recruited to serve the emperor or king, and our main character in this case is a paper girl, and she kind of infiltrates, and I don't know too much about it. The next book I'm anticipating is Seasons of the Storm by Casamano. And in this story, we have 4 people who are immortally representative of the seasons, and every year they are all set to kill each other and murder the season prior to them. So spring is set to kill winter, summer is set to kill spring, autumn is set to kill summer, and winter is set to kill autumn. And every year they are put through this, and 2 seasons start to develop feelings for each other and want to get out of the loop of constantly trying to kill each other, so it definitely sounds interesting. And finally is Incendiary by Zoreta Cordova. This is a Spanish Inquisition era inspired book, and I'm just going to quickly read you guys the synopsis for this one because it sounds so good. It says, I am Renata Convida. I have lived 100 stolen lives, and now I live my own. Renata Convida was only a child when she was kidnapped by the king's justice and brought to the luxurious palace of Andalusia. As a Rabari, the rarest and most feared of the magical Mariah, Renata's ability to steal memories from royal enemies enabled the king's wrath, a siege that resulted in the deaths of thousands of her own people. Which, that is like the first blurb in the summary, and it sounds so amazing. The next 2 books have not been announced this year, but they also haven't not been announced this year, so I thought I would mention them. The first one is the 4th book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. So I'll just kind of address it really quickly. The first section of A Court of Thorns and Roses was A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin. And that first trilogy and the next trilogy are broken up by A Court of Frost and Starlight. At least that is how I understand it. And in the 4th ACOTAR book, we will be following Nesta and Cassian's story, and I am so excited. I have so many questions based on what we read in the novella and also how the last book in the trilogy ended, and I'm really excited to see where their relationship goes and develops, and hopefully get to see a few of the other characters from the first series. And the next possible release for this year would be Encore by Stephanie Garber. It hasn't been titled or officially announced, so I'm just going to refer to it as Encore while I'm talking about that. And this would be a follow-up or companion book slash series to Caraval by Stephanie Garber. And I'm going to kind of spoil the series, so if you have not yet read it or don't want to be spoiled, I'll have a timestamp you guys can skip to. So go ahead and skip to it if you want to, but I'm gonna get into it. Essentially, in the second and third book, we are introduced to the Fates, and they all revolve around this deck of cards and different magical objects, and it has not yet been addressed if one of three things are gonna happen. The next series is going to revolve completely around the Fates, if the second book is going to follow Jack's story, or if the third book is going to follow Donatella and Legend's alleged daughter. I definitely think it would be super interesting to see a story that encapsulates all of those aspects. I would definitely be thrilled for it. And I think it was in finale that they addressed that there are 4 parts to every story: the beginning, the middle, the end, and the true ending. And the epilogue for finale was titled Encore. So I definitely would not be surprised if the next book or series was titled Encore or something around it. I think that would be so much fun. So that was the last book on my list that I am anticipating and wanted to talk to you guys about. Let me know what books you are anticipating for the year 2020 and if I missed any on my list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.